what's up? This is Sifu Cuddle, and we're going to be doing some wall bag drills in this video. So, a couple of things I want to mention to you before we get started. Number one is I teach Choy Kung-fu. Now, wall bag is very important to the Wing Chun system as well, and there's some other martial arts systems that use wall bags for hand conditioning. Every art has its own approach to it, so take a look at this, see what works best for you, adapt your training, or just understand the concepts and see where I'm coming from and how that might benefit your training. You can always tailor it to whatever your needs are. Also, I use a 2-section wall bag. It doesn't matter how many sections you have. Some bags have 1, some bags have 3 sections. I just use a 2-section wall bag. So you can modify the drill however it fits your needs again. Now, there are 3 very important things that I always want to mention before we work with the bag. And that is, number 1, do not go by sound as an indicator of correctness. This means a lot of these strikes are going to be concentrated to the knuckles. Now, the knuckles are not a very large surface, so when you hit something, it's not going to make a loud noise. If you go by the sound, it's going to encourage hitting with more surface area, and that's where people try to hit with the entire back of their hand. And that's, oh wow, so loud, but I'm only hitting those bones in the back of my hand where I need to be able to concentrate this one more to my knuckles themselves to condition these. Number 2, you want to make sure that you don't rush through things. Now, there's, like I said, lots of different ways to approaching this, but the wall bag is very unique because it has just a little bit of give, but it's a very, very solid bag. The heavy bags will swing, the cardio bags will tip, somebody holding a focus mitt, it'll bounce away, the speed bag just keeps bouncing. A lot of things will leave and not provide too much resistance. This one has kind of a permanent resistance, so we want to work with that as well. So when you finish your strike, try to keep it up against the bag. Don't just, bounce off of this one, okay? So take your time, don't rush the technique. The last thing is, do not overpower your strikes. When we're striking the bag, yes, we're conditioning the hands in different ways. Some is just actually hitting something, we wear down the skin and it builds up callus. But if you're scraping off the skin, you're drawing blood, or you're even bruising your hands, you're stifling your training because you have to stop and wait until that full recovery before you can get back and get serious in your training again. And really all that groundwork that you've made has been lost and you're starting from pretty much square one again. So make sure you just build little by little by little by little. Don't rush it. Kung Fu is a lifelong endeavor. It's not built in a week, a day, or overnight, okay? So with that said, let's go ahead and get into this technique. Now, it's a very simple one, and what we're going to do is use sow-chui. Sow-chui is one of the signature strikes of Choy Lei Fut. It's a big, swinging strike. Now, we're also going to use danlan. Danlan is a horizontal blade edge strike with the hand. I consider this still a palm strike because when we use palm strikes, it still concentrates around here. So we're just going from below the pinky on the blade hand itself. Okay, now this one we're going to modify a little bit, so this will be really helpful for you if you have a lot of good straight punches. We're going to develop that so they're even stronger, and then we have a new approach of throwing this punch. Okay, what we're going to do is not quite sow-chui to swing and just hit only with the knuckles, but we're actually going to modify it so that the path actually straightens out a little bit before we strike the target. Okay, it's just we're not going to be totally behind it here. It's going to be a little bit out. Now, for this one, make sure we're concentrating all this against the knuckles, and then we want to have a lot of structure behind this, so make sure there's no bends or breaks in the wrist. We want to have that as sturdy as possible. Anytime we're talking about a hooking punch, a hook itself, think about like a fish hook. It's going to have the curved part, but then it's also going to have some straight line into it. That straight line is going to be where we sink that punch in and we have its most devastating force rather than trying to hook and pull away from our target. Okay, so this one we want to sink in. There will be times where you want to do that and scrape, but this one we want to sink it in. Right. Now our first strike, what we're going to do is we're going to use the lower bag. Now if you have 3 bags, you can hit your danlan to the middle one. If you have 2 bags, you can use your danlan to the bottom one. If you have only 1 bag, all your strikes are going to go to that top bag. Okay, so I'm going to start with my first one. This backhand, my open side, I'm going to swing and then strike here, making sure that there's something behind it. Now, when I'm throwing this strike, I'm gonna keep my guard up high. So if my strike comes down low, my guard is up high. I'm gonna follow up by bringing this hand back, pulling this shoulder back, and then striking low with the danlan, okay? So chopping down here, this hand comes back, and then I'm gonna follow up over the top for that second sow-chui, okay? So 1, 2, 3. Now, this is where I want to have my guard. I want to have it underneath this time, okay? Think of pressing somebody's arm down and then following up here. Again, leaving my hand here, keeping pressure on the back. I don't want to pull away and then fall in. That's leaning. I don't want to push myself away from it either. I want to have enough pressure to hold this against the wall, but as soon as I move my arm, I don't fall, okay? So again, we have 1, 2, 3, and then drop it back down. 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. If you want to, you can also alternate these ones. So the danlan can lead or the danlan can follow. It's up to you. Now the last thing is, make sure you train this on both sides. Regardless of if you like to throw this style of punch on either side, you're gonna find the strength training that you're developing, the structure, the connection is gonna be very beneficial to your martial arts in general. If you have any comments, feel free to drop those down below. If you haven't already, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe. You can also find a lot more in the training playlist, so check those out. And you can catch me anywhere from Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, YouTube, of course, and on Patreon. And on Patreon, I try to have a little bit more for in-depth applications of videos. And this one was pretty in-depth, but I can go even further with some of those applications. So again, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.
Bam! Fist with a forearm.